The coaching keeps going nowhere. It's not because you're unclear. It's because someone has learned how to avoid ownership without saying no. In the victim mindset, it doesn't show up as weakness. It actually shows up as protection. So let's have a real conversation about what it's like for leaders dealing with difficult people. I'm Brenda Neckvatal, and I help the strongest leaders deal with the messiest people. Now, most leaders believe coaching fails because people don't want to improve, but that's not the real reason. Coaching fails when someone feels safer defending themselves than changing. So here's how it shows up. You give feedback, thoughtful, measured, specific. They nod, they agree, they even thank you, but nothing changes. Instead, you hear explanations, context, history, external factors, and it's never denial, it's always displacement. And they acknowledge the issue, but they move the cause somewhere else. It could be workload, it could be other people, it could be unclear expectations, or it could even be past decisions. Everything except their own behavior. And because it sounds reasonable, leaders keep coaching. They'll clarify again, they reframe, they offer support, they mistake engagement for ownership. That was always my mistake. I did everything else. But here's the thing, engagement without accountability is just simply performance. Over time, a pattern forms. And every coaching conversation circles the exact same ground. Progress begins to stall. Energy really drains. And the leaders start doing more work than the employee. That's the tipping point. Because when coaching only works when responsibility is shared. So when one person carries it all, coaching turns into caretaking. And caretaking kills performance. Now, the victim mindset thrives in this environment, not because the person's malicious. Absolutely not. I don't believe that for a minute. But they thrive because the structure that they're operating in allows it. And they learn that effort is rewarded more than outcomes. That explanation softens expectations, and that emotional language actually slows down consequences. So they stay stuck, and leaders, they feel trapped. Push harder and risk being labeled as unfair. You pull back and watch standards erode. Meanwhile, guess what? Everybody's noticing what's going on. Some people even can call it out before you can. They see the different rules that are applied. They see repeat chances. They see accountability that suddenly becomes diluted. And resentment always grows quietly. High performers will ask themselves why effort matters if excuses work. That's when coaching stops being a developmental tool and it starts becoming a cultural liability. Now, this mindset just doesn't block growth, it rewrites the norms. It teaches people that struggle is an identity and not a phase, and that feedback is not a threat. It's a threat, but it's not a resource. And that accountability is something to survive, not to embrace. Leaders often respond with more empathy, more understanding, more flexibility. Those are good instincts, but unfortunately, they're placed in the wrong sequence. Empathy without expectation reinforces avoidance. Clarity without follow through teaches absolutely nothing. And this is why leaders feel exhausted by certain employees, that every conversation suddenly feels heavy, and every step forward always slides back. And leaders start to question themselves. Am I being too hard? Am I expecting too much? Am I missing something? The answer is usually simpler than that. You're coaching somebody who benefits and is fighting really hard to stay stuck. And until that incentive changes, nothing else will. This is the part that most leaders will miss. That victim thinking isn't about pain, it's about control. And it controls the pace, it controls the narrative, it controls the emotional temperature, and it starts to control you. And when leaders adapt around it, they reinforce it. And the only way out isn't more coaching, it's a structural reset. It means clear, articulated expectations, clear, defined ownership, and observable outcomes, not arguments and not emotional processing. We're talking about boundaries. Strong leaders don't try to convince someone to take responsibility. They create the conditions where responsibility is required and they give that option to that person without judgment. That shift is uncomfortable, but it's also really necessary. And this is exactly why I built my app. It's designed for moments when coaching feels circular and progress actually stalls. So when leaders need to determine whether they're developing someone or they're carrying them, the app actually will help leaders slow that momentum down, recognize the patterns, and the shift the conversation from explanation happens to ownership. And it's done without shame, it's done without escalation, and it's certainly done without endless repetition. So let's have a real conversation of what it's like for dealing with difficult people. Listen, you don't need to keep coaching conversations alive if they're not producing change. You don't need to keep rescuing people from expectations. The link to the app is below because strong leadership isn't about saving people from discomfort, it's about teaching them how to carry responsibility.